Hi everyone, welcome back to a new episode. Today we will talk about how you can communicate in your feminine energy, where you can get what you want without feeling stressed, without feeling that your nervous system is out of control, without feeling that you have to negotiate constantly. And the reason why I am talking about this topic today is because I've seen that many women are struggling when it comes to emotions, when it feels sometimes too much and it feels overwhelming. And I know it can be very hard. And this is what leads them to have a communication that sometimes comes with a certain hardness. And maybe you see yourself that you feel this disharmony when you are bringing a message across. You feel passive aggressive. You are not saying actually what you want, but instead you are letting your emotion taking over that situation that you are in, and that caused the friction with the person that you are with. And that's why many females, including myself, find it very hard to break out of this habit and just to cultivate a bit of softness in the communication. Maybe you're seeing yourself being frustrated because whatever you say to your partner, to your colleagues, to whomever you're communicating with, it doesn't come across. You're not being heard, or maybe people are just simply ignoring you. And when you do not feel that you're being heard or being seen, it's totally normal that you feel anger. It's totally normal that you feel tense, that you feel there's something wrong. Maybe you also see yourself as well as someone who does not know when to open up and who finds it hard to open up, to find the right time and to walk on eggshells constantly. Now, when we think about feminine energy, we think of softness, we think of flexibility, we think about something that is going with the flow, just like water. But now what happens if we imagine the opposite of it? Assuming you're taking a rock in your hand. Think about what qualities this rock does not exhibit. It's certainly not flexible. It's certainly not soft. It is not tender. If you drop it, it won't bounce back. And if you happen to throw it on someone, it hurts. And what we want in our feminine energy when we communicate is to bring in this softness, this tranquility and the peace. Because ultimately, femininity is strength through softness. But merely do we know how to merge this softness into our communication. So what happens is that most of us women think that in order to get what we want, we need to yell, we need to repeat what we've said before, we need to remind that person, we need to demand and just control the person, what the person does. And I just want to tell you one thing: just because you choose to communicate in a feminine way does not always mean that you're always choosing to do the right thing. Because here's the thing, there are also many women out there who suppress their masculine traits, such as assertiveness, competitiveness, or setting boundaries, very essential. And they often compromise because they are afraid of people perceiving them as unfeminine. And that's why they act out of fear. And this is of course not right, because what happens if you do not set your boundaries? What happens if you lie just so people perceive you in the way you want to be perceived? The consequence of it is that you compromise on your safety, you compromise on your needs just to be perceived as feminine. Because think about if someone is not treating your child right, maybe they were aggressive to your child. Okay, in this situation, you need to bring out your masculine energy. In that situation, you have to bring out your feminine virtue, which is protecting your child, which is bringing out that masculine energy when you have to. Or when your child is sick, or when your partner is sick, you have to bring out your masculine energy. You can't be soft. You have to fight what is belonging to you. And you have to know when you have to step in. You have to know when it is your time to bring food to the table. What I'm saying is that we should never value being perceived as feminine more than the essence of femininity. And before I tell you how you can master your feminine communication, on how you can bring across the softness to get and to negotiate in your way to get what you want, you also need to understand that you need to have a partner who is willing to listen to you and who is willing to implement the things that you are saying. Because here's the thing, if you have repeated things over and over again and someone is not listening to you, then it doesn't matter in what way you're gonna do. The person won't listen to you. They won't change themselves just because you have found a way to bring your message across. When it comes to marriage, when it comes to relationship, have a partner where you feel you don't have to beg. So find a partner where you can apply your feminine communication where it actually works. And I'm just mentioning partner for now because I know a lot of women are struggling or having difficulties to communicate with their partners. However, you can apply this communication technique to your colleagues, to your friends, to your family members, just to shift your energy into what is positive and into what is possible without you getting stressed. Now, the first point is that you need to think in terms of feeling messages instead of demanding. If your partner is planning a date, if your partner is doing some gestures, instead of saying, I don't like it and you should have known it, just say instead, I need more of a place where it's a bit more quiet. I need more a holiday idea where I can enjoy the sun instead of going to Iceland. Or just ask him, you know what would feel good? I would feel happy if you remember the days we have set. Something like that, but not demanding, not controlling, not remembering what he did wrong all over again. Because that ultimately just will lash out into potential fights. Now, my next point is appreciation and acknowledgement. Everyone wants to feel appreciated. Everyone wants to feel acknowledged. Like, for example, if you look at a kid, kids are giving you attention and they feel appreciated whenever you listen to their ideas, whenever you tell them they did something great. And sometimes it's not perfect, but sometimes we also can just give the courage of recognizing the effort, whatever they have put in. And it's in every one of us. So when you communicate to your colleague, to your partner, to your mom, to your best friend, whenever they do something and when they say something and they present something on the table and they just want to hear your opinion, what you shouldn't do in this scenario is that telling the person what they repeatedly doing wrong and how you think that they are not helpful. Instead, just appreciate that they share something with you and acknowledge their effort. Because at the end of the day, you don't know how the person with what intention and emotion is just presenting you a certain idea, because sometimes people are coming to you from a source of, I'm not good enough. And when you are telling them that, and when you are putting basically a wall in front of their face, you put them back into this vicious cycle of like lack of confidence. And even if people maybe are passive aggressive to you, then ask for clarification and do not assume, because if there is something, make space for this person to express. The third point is that be specific. Maybe you're constantly telling people that you feel hurt, that you are angry, that you are passively aggressive, that you just don't talk to them. Maybe you give them the silent treatment. Here's the thing. Women are picking these signs up quickly because we are reading a lot between the lines. But with men is that they do not like ambiguous language. It doesn't give them a clear starting point for change. Right? So if you're giving them the problem, they want to create a solution, but they can't give you the solution if they don't know what the problem is. And instead of just saying, I feel hurt, I don't like that, just say instead, I feel disconnected and hurt from you. Whenever we are planning something and whenever you're changing your mind last minute, tell him how you feel in the exact context, why you feel it. Now, if he is a good man, he will make the change. He will see that you do not feel well and he wants to give the solution to your problem. And then you ask him, what are your thoughts? Asking the question will inspire a man's masculinity to come up with the solution. So you start to bring him into the conversation. When it comes to vocal language, I want you to slow down. You don't need to talk fast all the time and apologize yourself all the time and be like, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, this is horrible. Oh, I don't know how and oh, maybe it's because of, I could have, should have. No, slow down, chill, slow down your speed when you speak to people. Sometimes we have to speak a bit faster in the professional setting and we need to be precise. And this is where the masculine communication rule comes into play. But when it comes to relationship, you need to apply the feminine voice rule. Be soft, be slow, be deliberate still, but be slow. Do not speak in the tone of authority, like as if you would speak to your child. Do not speak in the tone of a teacher who wants to teach him something, because what happens is that before he even hears you, it already evokes a strong negative emotion in him, because it became a pattern, right? So he might already be in defense before he can process what you just said. So just slow down. Not only will you get what you want, but you also do yourself a favor. You do not waste your energy. You just like chill, okay? And you stay grounded. My next point is your body language. Body language is like 55% of how our message are being perceived. 38% is vocals and 7% is only vocal, okay? So if you are crossing your arm, you're raising your eyebrow, and you are having an attitude, it doesn't matter what you're saying. Even you say, oh, I love you. You see the difference? It does make a big difference. So pay attention. Do you talk fast? Do you have a high pitch? Because what happens is that maybe you have good intentions, but you might project a totally different image from what you want to convey as a message, right? So one example is that when I was younger, I get a lot of people telling me I have an attitude. I didn't know about it. So many women who now became my friends were telling me, oh, I thought that you were literally a bee. And I was like, what makes you think that? I'm like the nicest person on earth. And it's just like based on maybe the way I was speaking to them, or when I spoke to them, that I just look up, like I rolled my eyes really often. And I wasn't even aware of that. I was rolling my eyes, and based on me rolling my eyes and the way maybe I just being me, I just had this assumption that I was like a big meanie. And you know what helped me there? I had several sessions with really good friends, and I sat down together with them and I asked them, and we gave each other feedback of, what do you think can I improve in my communication? How do you perceive me? Sometimes people get passive aggressive when you say something, and I would just ask them, what makes you feeling uneasy about the situation? They would just explain me and maybe just mention, oh, it's because the tone of voice that you were using, despite me knowing, not having the intention of demanding, instead of just, giving a feedback or being nice to them. So if you are not aware of how you come across, take a session with your friends, with the people you hang out the most, and ask them how you do come across in their eyes. Not only does it benefit in your relationship, but also in everyday's interaction, at work, with your family. And it's just how people perceive you is the way how they read you, and this is what you portray. And sometimes we just do not portray what we intend to do. Next rule is space in communication, the importance of silence. Now, what if every word you spoke cost $10 a piece? Now, I'm talking only when it comes to communication with males. I'm not talking about communication with females, because females, we love to talk. But males, they do not like to talk. And that's why you want to make sure, if you want to bring something across, that the word you spoke had a great power. Women love words. For men, it's the opposite. Words do not mean that much to them. And because they do not mean that much, and when you want something from a man, when you want something from a male colleague, your partner, I don't know, your sibling, your brother, your father, whoever that is, then also be sometimes comfortable with the silence and give people time to think. What did they do wrong? What is going on right now? Maybe they will fuel the conversation that you are having. Maybe you have already experienced it. You are in a meeting and your male colleague maybe is not talking as much as you do. But then when there was a break, you felt like, oh, maybe I have to ask follow-up questions. Maybe I need to jump into making remarks and coming up with new topics. Or when you're on a date, it's the same thing. So, just be comfortable with the silence. And if there is nothing to talk, especially in a work environment, then, hey, time is precious at work, then prioritize it and let the person know. So I want you to understand that you also additionally do not need to react or just respond to whatever has been said, okay? Start to listen to men, start to mirror them back, sometimes give follow-up questions, and sometimes it's also okay if they give follow-up questions, because maybe they feel this is their chance to talk. And that way you can lay back and also just bring your mind to rest and just listen instead of just contributing all the time. So when it comes to communication, I want you to understand that you are using your mind, but you are also using your body. Using your body and your intuition to read the room, but using your mind to understand all the verbal communication. And here's the thing, the body is more of a complex child. It requires more sensitive conversations. It requires more tenderness. And our mind is more of like a forward thinker, and it's knowing what it's doing. And sometimes we need to be more in our bodies, understand the room to get what we want, to bring things across that we want, and to understand the things that we want. And sometimes it's also okay to walk away from a conversation if you feel that this person is not adding anything to you, or maybe this person is draining your energy. That's also fine. But what I'm telling overall in this podcast episode is that ground more, be more grounded. I feel like we women, we are not as grounded anymore as we supposed to be. And if you are not grounded, then whatever you do feels chaotic in your head. It feels chaotic for your body, because your body and your mind is not one. It doesn't act as one. It acts as two lost children, and this is not what we want, okay? And there's so many techniques on how you can be more grounded, just so you firstly feel better, you will understand your emotions better, and based on those things, you are better at bringing your energy outward. People are perceiving the energy that you are aligned with, and sometimes we don't even know what kind of energy we have inside of us, how we feel. We are not even aware of these things. A lot of things are being done in an autopilot sequence. And it's because we mostly are so busy in our lives. We are working and we are jumping from one meeting to another. And obviously, you are missing the time to be more in your feminine energy, but also communicate more in a feminine way. But to switch that on and to switch the masculine communication mode off, it's important for you to stay grounded. So do some yoga, meditate, take a walk, hug a tree, whatever that is. Meet with your friends, okay? Because I feel like nowadays female friendship are so underrated. And, I recently went to a retreat and I saw a lot of women, plus 40s, like a generation older than me. And a lot of them were telling me, oh, I hated to work with other women. And I was like, oh, actually, I find it such a pity that we are living in a world where women hate to work with women. But the truth is that don't translate women you are working with as in, oh, female friendship is not as precious, okay? And that I cannot work on anything or like gain anything out of a female friendship, because female friendship is like pure therapy. If you have the right females in your life, they gonna nurture you. They will give you what a man cannot give to you. And this is what I'm talking about when it comes to female support, grounding yourself, being heard, and reading between the lines that we sometimes wishing from a man, that what we can also sometimes get from a woman, which also brings us ultimately more in our feminine energy, because men cannot have all the qualities that we women have. And therefore, you should not make your partner responsible to fulfill all the qualities in every area of your life. You need to have friends. You need to have hobbies. You need to have activities. You need to have things that where you feel you can detach yourself completely as well from your partner. And ultimately, I hope that makes your communication to your partner, to other males, more easier, especially when you are knowing that you don't actually have to put that much effort into. And if people do not want to be there for you, if people do not want to listen to you, if people do not recognize the things that hurt you, then they are not meant to stay in your life. Now, I hope that you have liked this episode and that you have learned something from it. And thank you for listening, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.